Okay, so we have spoken about the basics, the preprocessors, and even the box model. Let's now focus on one of the most important ones that you can see in the CSS elements, which is going to be about handling conflicts. So for instance, this is the specific one that we were using for this. And this handling conflicts, it is very important because you need to know when things are not working. Why are they not working? Okay, so this is one of the things that even though AI can try to figure this out, in my own experience, I have seen that it really fails on figuring this out because it needs to have like a more complete, unless the code is structured in a certain way. So it is critical that you develop this skill. And it is not that hard, actually. And if you keep your code organized, it should be easy for you to know what happens. But there are three rules that you need to learn. The first one is that um, the attributes or the styles are going to cascade, which means that the order of the rules matter. If you have one rule and then you have another one, the second one is going to override the first one. The second key concept is specificity, which means that a rule or a selector rather that has more specificity, that specifies more characteristics about the element that you're trying to do, is going to take priority. So if I go and I say that all of the classes that say, I don't know, contents should be green, but then I say that only the paragraphs that have the contents, the class contents, should be red, uh, that one is going to have precedence over the other one because P contents, it's more specific than just contents. And I think we have some examples of that in a minute. And then finally, the concept of inheritance. And this concept is basically that in the DOM, which is basically seen as a tree, like all the elements that are inside are going to be also inheriting those attributes from the parents, assuming that you have certain CSS attributes that we're going to see in there. And then the key element is that you can also work with this and make sure like which one of those is going to be applying, so you know why something is working or not. So as I was telling you, like this is a very basic example on the source order for the cascade. So the order, so for instance, this one, since it appears after the other one, it is going to keep the H1s as blue. If I just switch it, the order, then it's going to be red, okay? Now, the scoring is going to have multiple different things, like for instance, inline styles are going to have 1,000 points for score, IDs have 100, classes have 10, elements have 1, okay? So you also have to keep that in mind whenever appending those different elements. And the universal selector, which is this star, is going to have 0 points, okay? So here is an example of specificity. So I have a rule with H1. H1 alone is going to be color blue. And then I have another one that is main heading. So actually this one in here will be winning. And probably, and this one is one that maybe Cloud could have come up with a better one, which will have been like just putting this before, because in any case, the order will be applying, okay? For the inheritance, same properties, inherit from the parent to child, like for instance the body, and then this special in here is going to be inheriting only some parts of it, okay? So other things like for instance the width and the margin and the border, they are not inherited, but things like color and the font family will be inherited. Excuse me, for the special values, then you have these things like inherit, initial, and onset, these different values that you can have for the inherit attribute. Um, and then finally, you have this important tag. And very important, everyone, please write this down. You cannot use admiration important in your code for the project, because the problem is that when you use that, um, it is actually very hard to debug it. Like if you put that in there, it is going to take precedence over most of the other things. So it is cheating in a way. And then on top of that, it will be really hard for you to make sure that you understand that. So In like the way you use it is something like this. Only use it for debugging purposes, but always remove them. And if you have some of those in your code, you're going to have some points deducted from it. So some best practices for that: it's use classes instead of IDs for styling, avoid using inlines, and the important, and make sure that you understand clearly the specificity, and then you write maintainable CSS with good documentation in good order, and use inheritance effectively for typography, and keeping the selector simple and specific as needed.